How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're finally getting back to some of those Kanto remake runs with another legendary, that being the first of the legendary golems, Registeel. So first things first, yes, I know that it only starts with Explosion, so we'll be bypassing that by starting the run at level 9 and with Metal Claw so that we can, start the run properly. But aside from that, Registeel gets a ton of amazing offensive moves, like again Metal Claw and Superpower, as well as some great TMs like Earthquake and Aerial Ace. Plenty of coverage and plenty of defense along with it, as we can also get Curse, Amnesia, and Iron Defense. The first two moves will likely be the combination that I use since Curse also affects Registeel's physical attack, so I'm definitely in a good position. Registeel's base stats are also nothing to scoff at, as both its defense and special defense are a whopping base 150, along with a base 80 HP and 75 attack and special attack. The only stat we're lacking in is speed, but who cares when we're working with Curse? All we need to do is endure every attack and just snap back. Kinda like a Wobbuffet that actually knows how to attack for itself instead of countering everything. With that being said, it's time for a few little plugs that you'll want to know about. First of all, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's try to hit 77,000 subscribers by the end of this month of May. Hit the like button as well as the bell in order to get notifications for whenever I release videos. Second of all, I'm super close to hitting 1,000 followers over on Twitter. I'd really appreciate it if you go follow me over there, link in the description, since I'm sure you guys know how YouTube occasionally can be a bit of a jerk, and you need to ratio them over there in order to get your channel fixed. And lastly, I've restructured the Patreon. If you'd like early access to my videos, vote on my next Professor Oak's challenges, or even give me a challenge to do on the channel with you credited and shouted out and everything, head on over there and become a patron today, link in the description, and if we hit a $300 a month goal, I'll stream an entire Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee shiny only Professor Oak's challenge. Yes, I'm serious, and I'm crazy. So, we replaced Bulbasaur with Registeel using the Universal Pokemon Randomizer, since Lord knows we need a challenge, and Fire should be plenty enough to contend with the Steel type. Of course, I used 4 rare candies that I spawned in to get to level 9 and give me an attacking move, mopping the floor with my rival and allowing me to just speed my way through the entirety of Route 1, Viridian City, Route 2, and Viridian Forest, and finally get into Pewter City, skipping over every optional battle in order to get to Brock as quickly as possible. As I figured with a 4-level head start, that fighting battles this early on would kinda be pointless, especially when I have such early access to Metal Claw, a super effective attack against both of Brock's Pokemon. He leads with Geodude, so I start wailing on him, missing my first Metal Claw, but following up with 3 more to KO and lead to Onyx. 3 of them gets him down to red HP, and just when I expect a potion, he doesn't go for it, instead just continuing to use Bind as I use 1 more Metal Claw to KO, winning the battle in easy fashion and with extremely high HP. Pays to use a tank that can dish the damage just as well. Brock, of course, wasn't going to be a pain, and now I have to get through Route 3 and Mount Moon. Luckily, at least, I don't have to waste money on antidotes since Registeel is immune to that status, thanks to being the Steel type. Well, at least with most cases. I think it can still get poison powdered, but if that happens, that's just bad luck. I grab my normal Spearow on my way out of Route 3, heal up at the Pokemon Center, and start my trek through Mount Moon. I, of course, instinctually go for the rare candy, but I run into this guy, who I call the Magical Scientist because of how easily he can destroy any Pokemon I come in here with, and that's because of his Magnemite. This thing resists just about every early game move, confuses you, and spams a boatload of tackles, Thunder Shocks, and generally just gets every Pokemon down, but Registeel is able to survive with single-digit HP, finally taking it down after seemingly a dozen Metal Claws, leaving just a Voltorb who can't really do much to go down in a few attacks, thankfully not being able to pick off Registeel's nearly decrepit corpse. But then I realize, oh right, I can just put Rock Tomb on this thing and not have to worry about it just using Metal Claw. This at least helps with the PowerPoint problem of having to conserve and get through the dungeon ASAP, though only having 80% accuracy can be a bit of a problem. After choosing the Dome fossil, since you've got to have your Dome knocked loopy to pick the other one, I emerged and realized that Registeel can also get Mega Punch and Mega Kick from the move tutors, so I taught both, replacing Explosion with Mega Punch as it's completely useless for a solo run, finally giving me a good range of offensive moves for the run. So Registeel's only level 16, but I think it's possible to beat Misty at this level and with this moveset. So I go in, take on both of her gym trainers, and think, yeah, this isn't a stupid idea that I can easily bypass by going north, fighting my rival and getting the SS ticket first. Fortunately, it actually isn't a dumb idea, and I'm able to learn Curse at level 17 on her second gym trainer, and after a few attempts of figuring out how many times I could get away with using Curse before her Staryu would start attacking, I was able to start slugging in with Rock Tomb and Mega Punch. But what I hadn't realized was that I needed a bit of an edge. Since Water Pulse has a nasty chance of confusion, I had to work around that, but I had grabbed a Persim Berry from the spot next to the Pokemon Center next to Mount Moon. So I slapped that bad boy on Registeel and gave him a good shove back into the battle, and it ended up working out perfectly. She leads with Staryu, so we trade Curse and Harden back and forth for a few turns before I shift over to Mega Punch as she uses another Harden. But of course, next turn she gets the confusion with Water Pulse on her first attempt using it, so much for saving it for Starmie, but I'm able to get a potion out of her and take out her Staryu with a few more Mega Punches, leaving Registeel left with 37 HP as I go into her last Pokemon. Water Pulse does 15 damage, doesn't confuse, so I'm able to hit Mega Punch for half damage on Starmie. Same thing happens next turn, but she confuses me. Of course, not shocked, but Registeel's a champ and pulls through at 8 HP, hitting one more Mega Punch to KO and win me the Cascade badge. That's a pretty low level to get the second badge. I'm wondering if it's all possible for me to beat the game lower than level 60, but we'll have to see. Rival's up next, and he's a bit of a breeze as well, since starting off with Pidgeotto means I have free game to set up 6 curses and go to town, since he can't use Sand Attack thanks to Registeel's Clear Body ability. A massive plus for me, since it means that Registeel's stats cannot be lowered other than by the effects of attacks used by itself, such as Curse lowering its own speed. Meaning I can just set up 6 curses, whack his Pokemon with a variation of Metal Claw, Rock Tomb, or Mega Punch, and carry on my day without any problems. The only problem I actually had throughout the entirety of routes 24 and 25 was the Mankey from the last trainer on Nugget Bridge, since Registeel wasn't at full HP, and of course I got a cheeky KO with its fighting type attacks, but it was a fluke as I was able to come back and destroy him on the second attempt, letting me progress through the rest of the route, get the berries as well as the SS ticket, and move southbound towards Route 5 and 6, picking up the Citrus Berry and Rare Candy before avoiding every non-essential trainer and getting into Vermilion City. As we normally do, I grab my traded HM Farfetch'd as well as the bike voucher before moving into the SSN and doing the same thing to my rival as I did before. A few curses with a massive wipeout of his entire team, letting me get the HM for cut. So it's time for Surge, and this one was a bit of a doozy. See, Voltorb has Sonic Boom, so I can't really set up on it more than a single curse without it being too much of a hassle to continue through the fight. Also, both Pikachu and Raichu have Double Team, so I have to come up with a decent strategy to handle all 3 of them. That includes giving Registeel the Citrus Berry that I had gotten from Route 6, giving me an additional 30 HP, so I should be able to set up a few curses without a problem. He leads with Voltorb, so I went for 4 curses as he goes for Shockwave, Sonic Boom, and another 2 Shockwaves before I go for Metal Claw, taking a second Sonic Boom before it goes down to a single Metal Claw, of course, leading to Pikachu. He goes for Double Team as I KO immediately with Rock Tomb, bypassing the need to touch it because of static, though kind of surprising that it landed first try since Rock Tomb is normally 80% accurate, and even less so because of the Double Team, but that doesn't matter since I gotta handle this Raichu. He immediately goes for Thunder Wave to paralyze, but I am able to hit a Metal Claw for half before he starts going for Double Team. I missed twice, but as soon as he goes for Shockwave, I'm able to hit one more Metal Claw to finish it off, winning the fight and learning Super Power, a very powerful move with 120 base power that lowers both attack and defense, but it can easily be offset with a turn of Curse, so I got rid of Rock Tomb and moved on with life. One large chunk of game later, and it's time for Celadon City. Seriously, there's so little progression between Route 9, Rock Tunnel, Route 10, Lavender Town, and Route 8 that you kinda just have to slug through it every time you play Kanto. But hey, at least there's something interesting this time. After having initially tried to take on Erica's gym when I arrived in Celadon, I lost to one of the trainer's executes, so I needed to try something new. So I went back to Route 9 and picked up the TM for Aerial Ace. I figured I was going to need this for this gym, but I had forgotten to pick it up. Anyway, after taking out that meaningless trainer with no life, it's time to take on Erica, and similarly, we shall make her Pokemon have no life. She leads with Victory Bell, so I go for a few curses, getting paralyzed immediately, but I moved over to Aerial Ace with over half HP remaining, one-shotting Victory Bell, Tangela, and Vileplume all in a row without worrying about the paralysis, winning the battle very quickly without difficulty. I'm glad that Giga Drain didn't end up being a problem, but I guess I shouldn't expect anything but a fire or fighting type attack to really do anything to Registeel. Half down, half to go, and it's time for our first Giovanni fight, and he's really not a pain, as Onyx is a 2-shot with Metal Claw, leading to Rhyhorn, who's also a 2-shot with Metal Claw, after landing a stomp, leaving just Kangaskhan to go down to 2 superpowers, winning me the fight in really easy fashion yet again. Say, what about a rapid-fire boss rush? We've got 4 gym battles, another 2 rival battles, and another Giovanni battle before all of the league stuff, so let's take down 7 boss fights before we get to those difficult battles. First of all is the rival in Pokemon Tower, and once again, if you recall the last 2 rival battles, they were very simple as I could easily just set up a ton of curses on Pidgeotto, then go to town on his team. Sure enough, this is the same thing I'm able to do here, setting up 3 curses before annihilating his team, with a selection of Aerial Ace, Metal Claw, and Superpower winning the fight. Yeah, not a shock. Honestly, we should be in the same boat for the rest of the battles since he always leads with Pidgeotto or Pidgeot. As for the next fight, it's actually not that bad because Koga can't really hit me, mostly because I'm immune to his main typing. Imagine that, who knew that a Pokemon that's literally the same level as his lowest level Pokemon would be able to sweep just because they couldn't get poison. He leads with Coughing, so I just go for Curse. He blows up, does 17 damage. I move on, going for more curses as Muck comes in and uses a ton of Minimizes and Acid Armors. I figured I was fine with Minimize, but I kinda forgot that it had Acid Armor, so after maxing out with Curse, I decided to use Aerial Ace, and it did a very pitiful amount of damage. Luckily, the second one was critical and immediately KO'd it, leading to the second Coughing. It blew up. It did 7 damage. I moved on. Weezing's Outlast and 3 Aerial Aces would be enough to take it down if not for 2 Hyper Potions he has, so it takes a grand total of 7 of them in order to take down Weezing, only taking minimal tackles before winning the fight. Like, imagine how stupid this fight looked if it was animated. Like, seeing 2 Coughings literally just stick themselves to Registeel, glow and explode, and literally do next to nothing. Then see your puddle of goo get sliced and somehow damaged by this slowest Golem, who can somehow use Aerial Ace despite having -6 speed, and your Ace Pokemon literally just bashing its head into the opponent into the hopes that its pain will stop, but it never does. Aerial Aces just keep coming as it takes more drugs in order to keep bashing its head into the metaphorical wall that is Registeel. Overall, the lesson is that Registeel is the equivalent of life. It's a douchebag, it will wall up, and it will kill you. You have to learn to work around it, but it only delays the inevitable, as time is on Registeel's side, as it can always reverse it in order to kill you. So on that pretty depressing note, it's self-company time, and in case you were wondering, we've legitimately been skipping trainers this entire time, so I haven't touched any optional trainers on purpose, and Registeel is just lower level than all of my opponents. This starts to catch up to me though, as on the rival fight, Charizard is kind of a problem. I lost the first few times, but then I realized after I used the rare candies, Registeel can learn Amnesia, so now I just replace Superpower with that in order to set up both 6 Curses and 3 Amnesias on Pidgeot, taking very minimal damage before... right. Whirlwind. Essentially, if I'm taking on any boss with a single move that swaps my HM users in, it renders my efforts pointless and I have to go deposit them. I'm stubborn though, so of course I don't do so, and I'm punished by getting burned by Charizard. Boy, today's just not a good day for cleaning up the game, now is it? But after a half dozen attempts or so, I finally nailed it. He leads with Pidgeot, so we swap for Farfetch so that it cannot be used by my opponent for a swap. Reason that I decide to do this instead of leading with Farfetch is because now Farfetch doesn't have the ability to choose an attack, and therefore cannot deal a single point of damage, so technically I didn't use it in a battle. Suck it, nerds. So, real battle here, 6 curses, 3 amnesias, and it should be time to sweep. Registeel somehow not even below triple digits despite taking 9 attacks, using Aerial Ace to finish off both Pidgeot and Charizard before going into Execute. Of course, it does land Sleep Powder and delays the inevitable, but only by a few turns, as Registeel wakes up, uses Aerial Ace on it and Alakazam before getting to the final Pokemon, Gyarados. See, this thing loves to flinch stall with Bite and Twister, and somehow gets a good number of turns out of it before I'm finally able to land an Aerial Ace. But once I do, it's game over for my rival, giving me the opportunity to tear into Giovanni once again. He is not hard. He leads with an unevolved Nidorino, meaning it barely has anything to touch me with. So I'm just able to set up my 6 curses and 3 amnesias uninterrupted, then just throw Aerial Aces into all of his Pokemon. With the exception of Onyx and Rhyhorn, who get Metal Claws. Special boys. Sadly, I do get paralyzed pretty early on by Nidoqueen here thanks to Body Slam, but honestly, it just didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Registeel still makes it out of the fight with over half HP, so who cares? It's time for probably the easiest late gym later fight in the game, that being Sabrina. She is hard-walled by Registeel, unable to really do anything with Kadabra as her lead Pokemon, so she tries setting up Calm Mind. Wise decision, but Amnesia outpaces her after 3 uses, so she decides to be smart and go for Reflect after using 3 Calm Minds. Good idea, great thinking. I'm surprised that the AI is able to try moves that can actually hold me off from KOing her immediately with Curse setup, but again, it's largely irrelevant as her entire team sans Mr. Mime is a one-shot even through Reflect. So I just click A, then click A again, and click A over and over again, getting through the battle and likely giving Sabrina an aneurysm for not being able to see just how many times I would kick her bum on this channel. Sorry buddy, better luck next time. Now it's time for the most difficult battle of the game. Maybe? Well, it's against a Fire-type user, so after traveling to Cinnabar Island, taking out the Pokemon Mansion, and shockingly, instead of fighting the trainers in the gym, I decide to do the quizzes. And you know what doesn't shock me? Jank. This question right here. Does Poliwag evolve 3 times? Well, this is Generation 3. Politoed exists in the Pokédex. I don't care if I only have the Kanto Pokédex. People have played Johto and Hoenn games by this point. Of course they know that Politoed exists, so they would naturally click on yes, but in fact, it is apparently incorrect, even though Poliwag does have 3 different stages. I'm just nitpicking at this point. What I should be directing my rage towards is Blaine himself. See, 2 of his Pokemon have Roar, so of course I have to go deposit both Farfetch'd and Lapras and come back in after the first attempt against him goes awry thanks to Roar. But not only that, Fire Blast has a stupidly high chance of burning and screwing up my run. Though in hindsight, I could have definitely helped dampen this effect, pun entirely intended, by using a Rossberry and going into the fight, but that would have been too 5-head of me to do that. So after several attempts of just jamming the A button after setting up, I finally ended up getting a good attempt, only after a wee bit of grinding and using my currently available rare candies to get to level 51. He leads off with Growlithe, so I start with Amnesia to stop the flames early. He lands the first Fire Blast, misses the second, and hits the third and fourth before missing the fifth. Luckily, this guy doesn't have Flamethrower though, so I'm able to set up all 6 curses before going below half HP, KOing with a single Aerial Ace and leading to Ponyta. It goes down after hitting a very light Fire Blast thanks to the stat buffs, leading to Rapidash, who just straight up misses his Fire Blast, going down to Aerial Ace, leaving just Arcanine, who shockingly misses his Fire Blast as well, and debatably, even more shockingly, goes down to a single Aerial Ace, winning me the fight. Yeah, I know that I was +6, but Arcanine's surprisingly bulky, and it's not like Registeel is full of a bunch of EVs after all. I'm skipping as many battles as I can, so it is a little shocking. One more gym battle to go, and it's Giovanni. Funnily enough, though, his two trainers that I had to take down to get to him were actually harder than Giovanni himself, since the first has two Marowaks that love to spam Bone Meringue, and make your run a complete nightmare if you're using a Steel type like myself. And the Karate King behind him has two Machokes, though he's not nearly as bad as the first, as long as you don't waste too much time setting up too many curses. With those guys out of the way though, a Quick Claw equipped, and a time of 3 hours and 58 minutes, it's time for the last battle against Giovanni. First things first, I'm noticing though, Earthquake does way too much damage. I don't think I'm going to be able to survive many of those, so I decided to go back and heal since I wasn't at full HP on my first attempt, and try again. I immediately go for Curse, doing 4 of them as his first Pokemon uses 4 Earthquakes, taking out 2/3 of Registeel's HP before both Rhyhorns go down to Metal Claw, since they're funnily enough still slower than Registeel, despite being -4 in speed thanks to Curse. Gotta love the Rock type. Leading to Dugtrio. His Earthquake does a grand total of 14 damage as Metal Claw takes him out one shot, leaving just the Nidos. Nidoqueen is barely able to survive a Metal Claw, but because she decides to dilly-dally with Hyper Potions, turns out Metal Claw was a range, KOing from full after the second one and leaving just Nidoking. Thankfully, with 12 HP remaining, the Quick Claw activates, allowing Registeel to go first, hitting Aerial Ace and one-shotting, winning the fight without excess attempts. I always appreciate it when things go according to play on the first try. Alright, 6 battles left. 2 rivals, 4 elites. This should not be terrible, assuming I play my TMs right. I was given Earthquake by Giovanni, so I do think about it, but I hold off in teaching it to Registeel. I don't think I'll need it for the second to last rival battle. Once again, we do the dance of maxing out with Curse and Amnesia, and sure enough, the battle goes the same way, as Aerial Ace is just able to tear through his team with the exception of Rhyhorn, his newly added Pokemon, who I just used Metal Claw on, winning the fight, though he did get Registeel down to near red HP, which is a little concerning since I was worried about the league if this rival battle was doing this much damage, but I didn't really give it that much thought. Going through Victory Road and getting to the other side, and basically going in with very little preparation. I figured if I can't do it now, I'll just do some unfortunate grinding, but I'm already pretty behind in terms of time as it is, despite skipping a ton of battles. So, Lorelei first, so of course I prioritize Amnesia over Curse, because Surf can definitely hit hard if I'm not careful. Sure enough, Dugong ends up doing over half before I max out Amnesia and do about 4 Curses, taking it out in 2 Metal Claws before Cloyster comes out. I can't really stand up to protect and hail chip damage, so I end up having to reset on Slowbro and try again. Here's where I decided to replace Metal Claw with Earthquake though, as well as deposit my HM users since I won't be needing them anymore. I'm not sure if I can actually pull this off, but the second attempt does go much better, as Surf does a lot less as she prioritizes Safeguard and Hail, doing about 100 damage before I nail a one-shot Earthquake, leading to Cloyster. Of course, she sets up Hail again though, so I just keep getting nailed with it, eventually taking a dive that only does 6 damage before Slowbro unfortunately wipes me with Yawn, Surf, and Ice Beam. Okay, well at least I have one more rare candy, so I used that, gave Registeel the second Citrus Berry that I had obtained from the run, and went in once again. 30 HP should be able to help with this Hail problem. The first turn of course goes to setting up Hail, second goes to Surf, and third goes to Safeguard. So I've only taken about half damage by the time I've set up 6 curses through the Citrus Berry, going for Earthquake and heading into Cloyster. Earthquake still can't KO from full with max attack since this thing is so bulky, but I did get it past it with 50-ish HP, meaning the rest of this battle should be a piece of cake. Sure enough, Slowbro is a 2-shot with Earthquake, and it doesn't use Yawn, as is Lapras, and I get lucky and avoid Lovely Kiss by the bastard Jinx, one-shotting with Earthquake and winning the battle with only 12 HP left. I can tell after the amount of attempts that it took to take out Lorelei that this league is definitely going to be a difficult one, but the next 2 battles should not be the reasons as to why. Sadly though, as I am an idiot, I do fail the first attempt against Bruno, but after giving Registeel an Oranberry, since I have nothing else better, I went in again. Because the only reason I lost the first attempt was because Registeel got caught right at the end with a cross chop with too low of HP, but it's relatively inaccurate so I just tried again. He leads with Onyx, so obviously going for Curse to prevent Rock Tomb and Earthquake damage is the wisest choice, maxing it out and taking a little bit over half damage before firing back with 2 Earthquakes to take out both of his Onyxes, leading to Hitmonchan. I didn't realize that I was going to be faster than this thing, since Registeel's not holding the Quick Claw, but naturally outspeeds Hitmonchan to hit Aerial Ace, KOing and leaving Bruno with 2 more Pokemon. Hitmonlee does outspeed, however, landing a relatively powerful Brick Break to take Registeel down into the red, but Aerial Ace is able to slice and dice him up, leaving just Machamp to miss Cross Chop, losing them the battle to sheer RNG. How does it feel to lose to bad odds? Well, how could I know? I just manipulate space-time and go back to before I lost. So long, nerd. So I can say that though I thought that Agatha was going to be easy, it wasn't necessarily the easiest battle, but I still won on the first try, so honestly I don't really know how to rank it. All I know is that Registeel is immune to poison attacks, and Ghost is physical in this generation, so it's not really anything to worry about. She leads with Gengar, so we trade Double Team and Curse, all while Registeel's holding a Person Berry, since I know better. But of course, it gets eaten up before I can take out Gengar, taking a Shadow Punch and sending her into healing range with an Aerial Ace before getting another Confuse Ray. Unfortunately, that did land before I could take it out, but I'm able to hit through it, hitting a second Aerial Ace in order to KO and lead to Haunter. Fortunately, Registeel doesn't hit itself again, nailing another Aerial Ace to KO and lead to Golbat, who does get a few confusion hits and flinches off before going down itself to Aerial Ace, leading to Arbok. This is the only member on her team that I can hit with Earthquake, so I do so, leaving just the second Gengar. I actually got caught with my pants down here, as Aerial Ace wasn't able to one-shot as it couldn't with the first one, but the Citrus Berry goes off and she lands Hypnosis and Nightmare, a very terrifying move that's essentially Curse while an opposing Pokemon is asleep. Of course though, because this is a Pokemon game, I have the best luck ever, with Registeel waking up on turn 2 and KOing with Aerial Ace, winning the match on my first try as I said earlier. Not bad. A little lucky, but not bad, though it's time for the truly fearsome section of the league. Lance is a bit of a problem here. See, Earthquake only works on his Dragonairs, and Gyarados has Dragon Rage, meaning I do not have enough turns to set up Curses and KO with Aerial Ace, so I have to forego Earthquake for the rest of this run, instead replacing it with Shockwave. I really hate to do this, especially since I know my rival has Rhydon, and I sincerely have nothing to touch it with other than Aerial Ace now, but I'll have to suck it up. And after all, I should have +6 attack and defense with Curse going into that Pokemon, so there really isn't that much need to worry. I only realized this after my first failed attempt, of course, correcting ship and getting Registeel a Lumberry, since I figured paralysis is likely to come thanks to one of the Dragonairs. And if I can hold it off for an extra turn, then that's just another turn that I can set up a Curse. He leads with Gyarados, so of course I go for Shockwave immediately, taking a Dragon Rage and getting flinched on a bite before taking a second bite and delivering the second Shockwave to KO and lead to Dragonair. Dragon-type moves are special in Gen 3, but I wanted to get Curse up ASAP, which ended up actually being the play as he uses his first Dragonair to set up Safeguard and go for 2 Thunder Waves, getting rid of my Lumberry and then paralyzing Registeel afterwards, but letting me get 3 Curses off for free. He goes for 2 hits of Outrage as I go for another 2 Curses, maxing out on the turn that Safeguard expires, and getting confused from Fatigue because, well, Outrage has its own setbacks, setting up one last one and beginning to sweep. Dragonair hits himself as Aerial Ace is able to one-shot, leading to the second Dragonair, only to set up Safeguard again, going down and leading to Dragonite. Shockingly enough, I know I've been saying shockingly, but there was genuinely enough shocking KOs here. It went down to a single critical Aerial Ace, leaving just Aerodactyl. Now, Aerodactyl was actually comedically funny during this match. I was wondering if I was going to do more damage with Shockwave or +6 Aerial Ace. Turns out Aerial Ace does slightly more, but as well, we kind of trade back and forth as he continues to use moves like Ancient Power, healing up with multiple Hyper Potions and continuing to push Registeel's HP down even deeper into the red, but he gets 2 stat boosts, 2 Omni boosts off of 5, count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Ancient Powers. That's 2 10% chances out of 5, which is kind of ridiculous, and it is so much so that it gets to the point where Registeel's HP is down to 12, and he goes for Hyper Beam, taking Registeel down to 1 HP, allowing me to follow up with Aerial Ace. One more will not KO, meaning if I do not get a crit, this battle is for nothing, and I will have to reset. But because, again, this is a Pokemon game and this is the ChaoticMeatball YouTube channel, of course I nail that stupid crit, winning the battle that, quite frankly, I had no right to win. But I always appreciate a stupid win with 1 HP and dumb criticals because it makes for some entertaining content. Alright, one more fight, let's regain composure, one more to get through, and that's the last rival battle, the champion. You might expect it to go down like most of the prior rival battles, but it actually is a little bit different. The biggest turn is that after using 6 curses, 3 amnesias, and going for Aerial Ace, he heals with a full restore. Oh boy, different item. Then gets hit again and switches into Ride On. Biggest fear has come out immediately because the champion knows that this is the only thing besides Charizard that can even have a chance of dealing with me. Sadly, I have to keep ramming it with Aerial Ace over and over again since I'm still stuck with Shockwave and no TM to replace it with, eventually taking it out with only 26 HP remaining for his other 5 Pokemon. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, outside of the script, I could have just picked up Return and replaced Shockwave with Return, but either way I would have had a not very effective attack, so I digress. I figured it would be over on Charizard, but the dummy somehow misses both Fire Blasts he goes for, letting me 2-shot with Aerial Ace through a Citrus Berry, leading back to Pidgeot, who gets one off before my own Aerial Ace KOs, leaving just half of his team remaining. Fourth out is Gyarados, and despite this thing having Dragon Rage, it decides to spin the lottery, since we all love doing that, right? Going for Hydro Pump and doing a little less than half my remaining HP, which in turn lets me get off Aerial Ace, but it doesn't one-shot. So he goes for Hydro Pump again, and misses! Looks like you lost your opportunity, moron! Goodbye! This just leaves Alakazam and Executor, the former of which coming out first and losing immediately to Aerial Ace after using a Psychic that did a grand total of 4 damage. Huh. Well, that just leaves Executor. If it lands Sleep Powder, I'm likely dead. There's no way he's not able to deal 9 damage to me before I wake up. But as fate would have it, I get that 25% chance of missing, letting Registeel hit one more Aerial Ace for the KO, the win, and the championship. Wow, well that run was kind of abysmal. Not gonna lie, with a 4-level head start ahead of the other legendaries I've used for this series, I expected Registeel to be in contention for a pretty high rank, but turns out it doesn't mean diddly squat. After all, Registeel's a tank, and I should have expected it to just sit there and absorb punishment and deal it out, just not as quick due to the amount of setup that Curse and Amnesia require. But hey, beating the game at level 59 is pretty cool. I don't think many individual Pokemon can actually beat this game in the 50s, so I'll at least take that. Next time on the channel though, I'll be doing one of those newfangled monotype hardcore Nuzlockes that people like Flygon HG and Sylph Spectre have been doing as of recently. And, in my favorite games no less, that being a grass-only hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Black 2 and White 2. Snivy's coming back with a vengeance to take out another region, this time fully evolved. See you guys then. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell, tell a friend, and don't spend more than a minute doing that, since if you are, you're taking too long. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you guys next time with another challenge. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.